Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously fascinating reflection from Pastor Beardstrong. We're looking right at the intersection of our spiritual clarity and, well, our bank accounts. We'll be exploring how our ingrained views on money might actually be blinding us. And we'll even look at a real-life example of what it means to step completely off the wealth accumulation treadmill. Okay, let's dive right in with a pretty piercing question. Are financial blind spots darkening your life? When we think about wealth, we usually picture spreadsheets, salaries, or bank balances, right? But what if our focus on money is actually reflecting a much deeper internal condition? What if our relentless pursuit of security is creating a massive blind spot that we don't even know is there? To get to the root of this, Pastor Strong anchors his message in an ancient text, Matthew 6:22 and 23. It says, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness." Now, this scripture, which he actually draws from a daily devotional by John MacArthur, serves as the foundational metaphor for his whole message. Think about it. The physical eye is literally how light enters the body. But metaphorically, the heart is our spiritual eye. So how we perceive the world, and especially how we perceive our resources, completely determines how much light actually gets into our souls. And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept, giving us a really stark contrast. On one side, we've got the healthy eye. When the heart is generous, it's like a crystal clear window. Light just pours in, bringing spiritual understanding, peace, and love. But on the flip side, we have the sick eye. If that window is dirty, clouded up by material worry, greed, or just the heavy burden of constantly chasing more, well, the light is blocked. The pastor points out that materialistic and greedy individuals are essentially spiritually blind. They might think they're walking in the light, but honestly, it's pure self-deception. So the absolutely crucial point here is recognizing this blind spot. It's this deeply ingrained, self-deceptive attitude toward money that literally poisons our ability to see what truly matters. I mean, we can so easily become obsessed with accumulating wealth, right? We get so weighed down by financial anxiety that we just lose our spiritual sensitivity. We actually can't see the work God is doing in our lives because our vision is totally obscured by dollar signs. It's a reliable thermometer for our spiritual health. Basically, how we view and use our money reveals the true condition of our inner light. Now, it's one thing to talk about all of this in theory, but how does this spiritual clarity actually look in the real world? Let's move from theory to a lived example by looking at Pastor Strong's own life and his 38-year marriage. Tracing the timeline of his life, the pastor and his wife met and got married back in 1988 while they were studying at the Taiwan Theological College in seminary. By 1991, they graduated and faced a massive choice. His wife was from the west side of Taiwan, Taichung, where there were plenty of churches eager to hire them in affluent, highly populated areas. But instead, they volunteered to go east. They headed to a remote, rural church in Bipu. And today, they're celebrating their 38th anniversary and looking back on 36 years of continuous, faithful ministry in a place far, far away from the bustling wealth of the city. What's truly fascinating here is the highly tangible way his family actually found contentment. They relied heavily on teamwork. His wife used her professional piano skills to teach and financially support his seminary studies. They bypassed all those lucrative city opportunities, completely avoiding the pursuit of urban wealth. They raised 2 daughters who eventually married, established their own careers, and continue to serve in the church and practice tithing today. What the pastor emphasizes here is just profound. Even though they lived in a remote area and definitely weren't economically wealthy compared to folks in the city, they found that everything provided to them was truly enough. This peaceful, rural contentment, this profound sense of having enough, contrasts sharply with what the pastor identifies as our modern society's exhausting financial trap. Today, we're just constantly being told that we need more. Consider this staggering number, 1 million. The pastor recalls playing Monopoly as a kid, where having $1 million meant you possessed an absolute, unimaginable fortune. It represented total, unquestionable financial victory.
But look at how its value has completely warped over just a single lifetime. 40 or 50 years ago, $1 million was a massive fortune. Today, thanks to inflation and soaring property values, $1 million literally cannot even buy a single parking space in Taipei, or even in new developments in Hualien. It's absolutely absurd when you think about it. The pastor uses this to point out the pure futility of chasing ever-moving financial goalposts. We spend our entire lives relentlessly pursuing a number that we might not even be able to finish spending, only to find that its true value just evaporates. The goalposts keep moving and the trap just keeps closing.
Which leads us to a really fascinating reality check. The pastor often asks the older members of his congregation a very direct question. The house you live in right now, did your parents leave it to you, or did you build it yourself through your own hard work? Almost universally, the answer is that they built it themselves. Times were incredibly tough back then. Parents struggled just to keep their kids alive and get them a high school education. Buying them a house? No way, that wasn't even on the radar. Yet, he highlights a deeply tragic irony happening today. Having survived those hard times, today's parents now work themselves to the bone, sacrificing absolutely everything just to hoard wealth for their children. They feel like they must endlessly accumulate to feel satisfied. But this endless accumulation, it causes a massive loss of generosity. And worse, unprepared heirs just come to expect a free ride. This is incredibly dangerous. If you hand over massive, unearned wealth to children without first giving them a solid foundation of faith and a strong work ethic, that inheritance can literally ruin them. You might think you're loving your kids, but you could actually be harming them. Which brings us to this profound paradigm shift. The pastor says, used money as your savings in the bank, the rest just becomes inheritance. Wow. It is a huge wake-up call to keep our spiritual window clean. We shouldn't be overly harsh on ourselves, live miserable lives, or become stingy toward others just to make an inheritance number look slightly bigger on a piece of paper. Manage your money carefully. Absolutely. Don't waste it. But whatever you do, don't lose that healthy eye, your honesty before God and your generosity toward others, just to hoard it all for someone else. So, beyond the inheritance you leave behind, what is your true legacy? As you look at your bank account today, I want you to ask yourself, are you just chasing a moving target that won't even buy a parking space in 20 years? Or are you keeping your spiritual window clean, finding you're enough, and building true eternal value through your generosity today? It's definitely something to think deeply about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.